Hello there. I want to talk to you today about maps, mappages and reference books. I'm a big believer in using maps to plan things. I do use sat-nav, but unfortunately I'm not very good with technology, as you can tell by these videos. But I struggle with it and I get frustrated with it. But I did rely on it quite heavily when I toured Scotland, but famously I went to a shop which was 1.5 miles away, according to Google, and I used Google Maps to take me there. And this was when I was stayed at Dunbeath, so it wasn't like I was out in the wilds anywhere. So it was 1.5 miles away. 45 minutes and 20 odd miles later I was back at the campsite. It was taking me all over the place, you know, but I mean a map couldn't have helped me anymore, because it doesn't live, the maps don't say, oh, there's a little Premier Stores somewhere, you know, whereas Google obviously did, but it got confused and sent me all over the place. So I am wary with sat-nav, so I always check first on the map, and I've got a rough idea. I have the map open on the page in the direction that I'm using, so should I feel like I'm getting lost with the sat-nav, or I just want to update myself, I can whip it out the door and have a look-see. The kind of maps you can get obviously vary on how much you want to spend. Being a budget van life adventurer myself, I go for budget prices, which invariably doesn't work out in the long run. This was about £4 from the works, I think it was, but it's rubbish. It's rubbish. I mean, it's very basic, and it's like it's a horrible size to have, you know. It's not to hand, it's, you know, I don't use that. I took it this time because I just bought it for this time, but I won't use that again. My favourite go-to map is outdated severely. It's the Essential Britain and Ireland map from 2016, but I love it. You've got a little grid on the back there, tells you what page is where. It's very well detailed, easy to follow, easy to read, and I love the fact that it's on a binder, so you can like flip it over like that and you can just grab it, and it's brilliant. I love it to bits. I did have a smaller version of this from when I did my bike trips, and again it was an A5 size. Brilliant. I wish I still had it, but I think it got lost on the last trip I went on bikes. But yeah, love that. I would advise that strongly, but obviously if you get the 2021 one, which if I do see it when I'm out and about, I will grab it. Now, I made a little bit of a mistake. Here's a surprise. But I thought, when I was out in Scotland, I thought I want a dedicated Scottish map, because I love Scotland and I will be going back there many times, and it'd be nice to have a specific, more in detail map. So I was in a gas station, but I'm not in America. It's in a petrol station, and this particular petrol station was amazing. It had everything in there, and I mean everything, parts for cars and vans, and it was just bizarre. Anyway, I picked up a map, a Collins map. You can't go wrong. It was £5. Well detailed, superbly detailed. It's got lots of information in there. You've got your key there. The downside is it's a big jobby, but what I did, I basically folded it to the page that I had it on and used it that way. When I go on adventures, I like to pick up trinkets and bits of literature that are pertaining to where I'm at. And it wasn't until I got home that I had a proper look at it. One of the things I picked up was Caravan and Camping Parks map. I thought, oh, that might be interesting, you know, to check out the prices and things. And I opened it up, and inside it there's a map of Scotland, basically. And I've got a different version here. This one's called something completely different. It's got like, it's the NC 500 outlined on it, but it's also got everything else, you know, from bird watching, seal watching, where toilets are, museums, visit centres, and these are free. These are free leaflets. So had I looked at it rather than grabbed it and popped it in my bag to look at when I got home, I would have had a map of Scotland. As it is now, I've got 3, which is great. You know, you can't have too many, I don't think. But if you're going to Scotland or you're looking at doing the NC 500, you can pick these up at garages, newsagents, obviously the tourist information centres, you know, and don't do what I did. Have a look at it before you put it away, because it could save you £5. But I don't regret the purchase. You know, I've got this map. It's great for planning at home. That's what I'll use it for, more so than on the road. I'll take it with me, yes, but I can look at specific areas and then research certain things. And because the things I'd like to do, but I can't do with Tess, because I don't want to leave her in the van on her own. And, you know, we're on an adventure together. So the things like going around castles and things like that, I can do when it's Tess's time to leave, sort of thing. But that's not going to happen for quite a few years, hopefully. Touch wood. So yeah, maps all the way. They're tangible. You can touch them and feel them, and that's what tangible means. But they're good for planning and things. You know, don't rely on technology, because again, in Scotland there are places where you can't get a signal, so you can't have a sat nav. You know, so you don't know where you are. That's why I always like to keep track of where I'm going on the map there. That What 3 Words app is very good, and I did make a few notes on that, where I found myself in an area that was no signal. If I was staying in that sort of area, I would drive away until I got a signal, and then do the What 3 Words. So I've got like an area that I can pinpoint should I be in any problems, and I would communicate that to somebody back home, saying, look, because I was in contact with 2 people actually, one of which was Hayley, my what's the word? She's my sister-in-law. That's not the word I'm looking for. She's the moderator for the At Budget Van Life Adventures Instagram account. But I would let her know, as well as my ex-wife, when I'd stopped at a certain area, or if I was in a certain vicinity where I felt that if you don't hear from me, or you message me and don't hear back from me, I'm okay, but I'm in a dead spot, technology-wise. And that What 3 Words is a good anchor, because they're specific. I think it's amazing how they work it out, but apparently anywhere in the world you can get What 3 Words, and that's, if I can say the word, specific to that location, for the point of like a rescue situation or a breakdown situation. Because that's the only fear you've got really, for me, the only fear I've got really is if I have a breakdown and there isn't a signal, a phone signal. How do I raise help then? But I plan for everything. I plan for worst case scenarios. It's like when I went on the adventure, within the first 2 weeks, I lost my bank card. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I'd planned for that eventuality. I had a spare wallet with a credit card in it, and I knew that the card was in the van somewhere. I hadn't lost it. So before I reported it missing, I waited for certain dates, so I had money coming in that I could move around, that I could access it prior to me cancelling the card. But I knew the card was safe, but I just couldn't find it anywhere. And I actually found, I'll tell you how I found it. I was back home, because I stripped the van out when I was away, but I couldn't find it. When I was back home, I used the card to book a campsite, and I don't know why I didn't put the card back in my wallet, but I didn't. I put it on the side table there next to where I slept, and it had moved from there over myself, because I thought it had dropped down between the bed and the actual unit, but it hadn't. It got off. Yeah, it got off. I somehow had manipulated it from the position on the side across the bed down the bottom, and it had dropped into the garage part of the bus, and it had lodged in, I've got like a bale of rope, and where it's tied around the middle, you know, you got the rope like that, say, there's your rope, it's tied around the middle there, it dropped in there, and it was just stuck there like that. And it's like, how did I not see that? But I didn't see it. But yeah, I plan for things like that. I've got what I call my get home money in this wallet as well, that I knew that if I had a situation where I lost my wallet, I had cash that could get me home, or cash for a repair to get me home. So I wasn't phased by it, which I surprised myself. I thought I'd be devastated. I thought, oh, that's it, the trip's ended, how am I going to do, what I'm going to do? But no, I was quite calm about it, and that's the planning side. And that's the point I'm trying to get across in this jumbled video, is when you're going on an adventure, to make it a proper adventure, you've got to try and eliminate all the negatives if you can. You know, plan for the worst case scenario in everything. I mean, I came back with bags of clothes that I never wore. You know, I've got hot clothes, cold clothes, wet clothes, dry clothes. You know, every eventuality. Long, like drover coats in case of torrential rain, and you know, I've got all sorts of things. Far too much stuff. I'm not going to take half as much clothing this time when I go. And the weather's, this is the way it is for me. The weather's more likely to change on this next adventure, but I'm going to be taking less. I'll probably fall foul, but you know, you make do. But yeah, just plan for every conceivable possibility, so then there's less chance that when something happens, it's not going to ruin things. You know, because that was my biggest fear, was having to cut the trip short. I wanted a big, long adventure, and I got that. And it was down to the planning process. I'm 100% believe that. And again, like having all the right medication in excess, in case there is a situation where I've broken down or whatever. You know, but in saying that, if you break down in a place where there's no reception, you know, I've got provisions. I could survive in the bus for a month, food-wise and water-wise. I could make it last. I always made sure I had 50 litres of water, always. And foodstuffs, you know, I've got canned food, I've got survival food like MRE type food. I've got all sorts there, you know, and worst case scenario, you break down, you could be there for a day without seeing somebody, but I doubt you'd get through the second day without somebody coming past. You know, I've got warning triangles that you'd put out that tells other road users that there's a breakdown. You know, I've got my flashing light that I could always plop. But yeah, I'm waffling now. I'm just planning. That's what this is all about, planning. Use your maps so you know where you're going. Use them as you're going along. Don't rely on technology, because it could let you down quite easily. All right, good luck.